Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the New Internet Podcast. I'm Elijah Levine, and I'm here today with my esteemed colleague, Eric Swartz, and our guest, Edward Puccio, who we're really excited to have today. And I'll go ahead and let Edward introduce himself.
Yeah, so I'm Edward Puccio, started in the crypto space back in around 2017. Was the first employee at this one fund, BK Coin, helped grow them from 200K to 140 mil over my 4 years at the fund. Unfortunately, at the end, the CIO was up to some shady things, so it shut down back in November of 2022. But yeah, we had the former president of Coinbase on our team. All landed solid gigs afterwards, and now I currently work for a quant fund in the space of Victoria Asset Management. Based in Miami, I run a crypto institutional group down here as well. And I also started this recent newsletter, Crypto Funds Watch, news about all the news in the hedge fund and allocation space in crypto.
Wow, that's amazing. I think right off the bat, I'd love to hear more about that first fund you worked on. Not only is that unbelievably impressive growth, which I'd love to learn more about, but also, of course, whatever happened with the principal there, that was up to some shady business.
Yeah, so pretty much I started back in the fund in 17, 18, straight out of college. It was really my first job. I was the first employee there. The first 2 years were hard. We were at around 200K of family, friends, and money to start. Really saw slow inflows, but we kept building that track record. And then, yeah, it's crazy. 2020 hit, I think it was. Then, I mean, again, we had a solid track record at the time, and then we saw a ton of inflows come in, and yeah, that kind of pushed us to 140 mil. We were on a lot of people's radar, about to become the marquee fund in the space. But yeah, the CIO, and this is also public news. Yeah, so what happened with him was he was covering up investor losses with new funds. It wasn't a ton of money. It was a small amount, but still, I mean, that's not legal. So I don't want to go too much into it. It's public. If you want, you could search it up online. There's SEC filings about a BK coin, but yeah. And then I joined Victoria in November 2022.
Wow. Yeah, no, crazy stuff. It's interesting. The more time we spend in the space, we are seeing a lot more bad actors than I ever would have imagined. And that, of course, goes for crypto, but also traditional finance. And, it's certainly put a bad taste in our mouth, but it's also really inspired us to be good actors and to put the best foot forward and keep, all of the operations above board and make sure that everything is tight and you're running a tight ship that is not prone to any leaks.
No, yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? Because I was so close to that founder, and I mean, from the start, and placed all my trust in him, and to be a part of that journey and to see it all go down to the end like that, it was pretty upsetting. But yeah, now I'm at a new firm again. Joined them back in November 2022. They've been in the institutional space for around 20 years now. So just have really great names in the space. So I really like where I'm at.
Amazing. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? I've spent a little bit of time in Miami and I was astonished at how much crypto activity there was down there. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, sure. So I could go into what I do for the fund right now and talk a little bit about what I also do in Miami. So currently I'm at Victoria Asset Management, asset management firm in crypto. We have hedge fund arm and also a trading consultancy arm. So on the hedge fund side, we're purely market neutral. I think around 40 mil under management, maybe a little bit less now. Held up well during FTX. Saw some outflows because of that, but it wasn't because of really performance. It was because of the whole FTX situation. Then on the trading consultancy side, that's been a pretty good business for us. I know you run a fund as well. The cap raising space is a bit slow right now, but the good thing is the crypto natives still want to do business. So we're working with several miners now. We work with funds. We help hedge their exposure, do some yield generation stuff. So that's been a good business for us despite the slow cap raising environment.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've similarly tried to diversify our revenue streams away from just, fund management fees and performance fees, as you're saying, because of the capital environment. But I think there is still a lot of opportunity out there in kind of the services space, which is really where we've tried to hone in on over the last couple of weeks and months. because a lot of people are still interested in the space, still trying to build. Quite ironic, seeing how last week the SEC is suing the two biggest exchanges, Binance and Coinbase, and then this week, they approved the first ever leveraged Bitcoin ETF that happened this morning. That was absolutely massive news. And of course, Citadel, Charles Schwab, and Fidelity all starting a centralized non-custodial exchange. All pretty remarkable news. And I'm sure Eric has a lot to say about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. But like one thing I wanted to touch on is just like how critical Eddie has been to so many token launches, is introductions to market makers and meeting folks that can provide liquidity, and Eddie often does that on a no fee basis, just to be helpful to people. And I just wanted to let everyone know how incredible I value our relationship, and also just the amount of projects that really owe the success of their kind of biggest and most pivotal moment is to Eddie is incredible. So I wanted him to get a chance to kind of tell us a little bit more about that and to walk through that in more detail. But can you tell us about it?
Yeah, sure. So you mean just in terms of like helping out various projects in the space, or really just the role I've played in kind of like the Miami crypto scene?
Both. I mean, honestly, like I think they're very related. Just speaking network of traditional and Web3 market making professionals, and really it's unparalleled. I don't know anyone that knows as many market makers as you do, and I know for Wenmint's launch you were one of the critical advisors, and would love for you to kind of talk through how you've been advising projects in that way, and really just the immense value that you've been adding in the space through doing so.
Yeah, sure. Perfect. Yeah. So I believe the crypto space is still pretty new, and there is a lot of opportunity for everyone in the space. I mean, it's not like traditional finance where it's like a dog eat dog world. There's only a small pie where everyone can eat from. So I'm just really open to provide value in like any way I can. Yeah. So I mean, like I help projects across the spectrum, whether that be a project like Wenmint, whether that be another fund in the space that's not really market neutral, because those are kind of our competitors. So I can't really do much with them. But yeah, I think in one of my largest value adds was really starting the institutional Telegram group down here in Miami. It's funny, when I came here, so when I came to Miami around 2 years ago, I knew there were institutional people here in the space, people at projects, funds, VC firms, but we were all scattered. So I actually had a conversation with this person. I don't want to name the firm, but she was like, oh yeah, my firm is going to start an institutional group. Month went by. I'm like, what? I mean, like, we need something like this. So that really sparked my interest to form an institutional crypto group down here in Miami. And yeah, since I started it probably 5 or 6 months ago, and now there's 130 people in the group. We do happy hours every now and then. I mean, it's a small amount, but it's very curated. So it's a great group that comes out.
Incredible, man. I do something very similar with some friends from BitGo up in New York. I know that I just love attending both events, to be honest. Like after having gotten to see both, like I think of Miami and New York as like the true Web3 hubs, and it's just been incredible to have made the connection and gotten to see a little bit through your world, especially at Bitcoin Miami. We kicked it a lot, and I just had a great time, and I just wanted to thank you so much for all that you do for the space, because the reality is liquidity is key, and Eddie is the path to liquidity, guys. Like this is who you need to talk to. So I just wanted to get that right out the gate. And then the other thing I wanted to chat a bit more about is just I mean, the incredible work that the institution's doing, that the institutional group is doing for the curated group, because I mean that's what we've seen up in New York doing similarly, like just the amount of connectivity that was missing, and the amount of connectivity that can be produced just with a single group like that has really, it's opened my eyes to how magical a time we are in Web3, and how important it is that we all just take that into account and really help each other to build today. And this is something that Elijah and Kyle and I are also super huge on. Like we're just always talking about, what can we build today? How can we add to Web3 today? What from a media perspective, what from an articles perspective, what can we invest in and lead the charge at? And Eddie, you're kind of I think of as our extension down south. So tell us what you're doing in that regard.
Yeah, so I would say mainly in the institutional space in Miami, two things. As really someone who's trying to help raise capital for the fund, is really bring in institutional liquidity into crypto, which is challenging, as Elijah knows. I mean, he's at a fund, it's very tough, but it's really building those relationships for an extended period of time. So when the time is right, they know a place where they could safely enter into the crypto market. I say also on the hedge fund side, something I'm also doing is starting a newsletter, Crypto Fund Style Watch, just to go back to that point about bringing value. That's been interesting, because to really build a community on that newsletter with VCs, hedge funds, allocators, and really a curated group that is also spans not just crypto, but also traditional finance. That's also piquing interest from people in the traditional financial world, because again, crypto is a pretty tight-knit community, and a lot of people in traditional finance, there's kind of still like a barrier, and now they're slowly coming in. And I think Crypto Funds Watch is an interesting way these traditional allocators and funds can kind of get a interesting perspective into the crypto hedge fund VC space.
I couldn't agree more, man. And I just think that, first of all, I never miss your newsletter. I read every word, and I think everyone should, because frankly, there's just tons of alpha in there. Alpha, exclamation point. So, but besides that, like, the reality is, like, being a part of that group is super crucial to actually understanding the economics of what is going on a macro level. And that's the critical piece of what Eddie's saying to you guys, and what I want to flesh out with you more is just saying that, because there's not a lot of people that have that true guiding connectivity that can get you to a place where you understand these markets that are decentralized, and that frankly in some ways are embattled at not allowing you to understand them. So that's what I think is critical, is really just understanding the market participants, and whenever you're trying to understand any market, and the critical piece that Eddie brings up, and that I'm so psyched about, is just that we can in fact access a lot of that at these early days with a really small group. So I think that's the incredible piece. And I just lastly, before we get out of here, I wanted to thank you so much, Eddie, for coming on. As always, dropping tons of alpha, and always helping people in the space get to that liquidity that they need. If there's any place that you would like folks to follow, or any place that you'd like folks to visit, just let us know. We'll add that into our notes and the podcast. And to you viewers out there, we really appreciate you joining us. And if you enjoyed the episode, please like, subscribe, and reshare it. Thank you, everyone.
Hold on. Yeah, we're not done yet. I got a couple more questions for Edward, if you have the time.
Fire away. Yeah, I'm free for a bit.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, for people that are trying to break into the institutional world, that don't really have experience with that, have not worked in traditional finance, haven't raised institutional capital, how would you recommend that they go go about getting their foot in the door in that world?
It's tricky, right? Because finance is a very relationship-driven business. So I would suggest, if you're trying to raise capital on that side as a fund, I think one of the most important things is trying to get into curated dinners, curated groups, trying to find very like niche communities where you share some kind of a common allegiance to. Like, for example, if you go to a specific college and you know there's specific alumni that are big in the allocator scene, maybe when you're next time you're in New York, try to host a dinner and try to invite them out. It's like really doing those small things and connecting people in a nice curated group. I say also referrals are also an important part of the business too. I know, for example, if you're a long only fund and your competition is also long only, but there's also other funds in the space too. For example, market neutral, maybe try to team up with them, and maybe you could do something like share contacts. You're not really competing for the same business. They're kind of a complementary strategy.
Yeah, I agree. And that goes back to one thing you said earlier that I really agree with and really resonated with me. It's something I've talked about a lot too, is that because there's so much opportunity in the world of emerging technology, which kind of Bitcoin and crypto and blockchain broadly have dominated for the last couple of years. And now we're kind of starting to see AI butt into the space a little bit. But there is just such a large pie for so many people to take a bite of. And I think a lot of traditional industries get caught up in competing and being at each other's throats and stealing business, whereas in this world it's really, hey, what can I do for you? And starting off with that really does open up all those doors for you in terms of getting a referral, getting a bunch of people together in a dinner, or the Telegram group chat like you have. I just think stuff like that's amazing, and more people should be willing to put their best foot forward.
No, yeah,
Like, that's one thing that I think everyone on this call kind of stands by, and I'm glad we continue the conversation, Elijah, because that's the perfect place to kind of bring it to, because the key is like, how can I be helpful, not anything else. And I think we've all learned that in a really, really impactful way by going on this Web3 journey and really trying to genuinely be helpful to people. And it's been so incredibly, personally, I can say it's been so incredibly rewarding to have done that. And I just have the greatest respect for this space and this industry. And I hope what little I can bring to it is useful and helps its trajectory upwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a couple like more closing questions, Eddie. I'm curious, a lot of people I'm seeing move to Miami regarding more favorable tax laws, of course. But I'm curious what your experiences have been like in your time there, and what you've seen in terms of the activity, not only in the business world, but also personally, and how that compares to anywhere else you've lived in the past.
Yeah, so previously, I spent most of my time in New York, grew up in Staten Island, New York, lived in the city for a year once COVID hit, went to Loyola University down in Baltimore, Maryland. In terms of comparing the New York scene to Miami, Miami's growing fast. I know a lot of people still that are not based in Miami still say stuff like, oh yeah, New York will always be the main financial hub. I mean, that may be true to a certain extent, but I was actually just having a conversation a few days ago with a friend of mine. He runs a large family office. He's like, I'm actually taking more meetings now in Miami than in New York. And I think post-COVID, work-life balance has been emphasized more than in the past. And I think Miami is a great spot to really be for that. I mean, what's great about Miami, even if you have a long, tough day, you walk outside, you see the palm trees, you see the sunset, you're like, okay, I'm going to go take a walk on the beach. I mean, in New York, and you're just staring at a building once you leave your building. So that's partially the reason why I came down to Miami. But yeah, the crypto scene is growing fast. I know there's a VC firm called Krypton Labs. They host a lot of cool events down here as well. Yeah, I mean, I mean, every month I'm just seeing more and more people move down, more and more people being added to my crypto institutional group. So it's a really great spot to be.
It's amazing. Yeah, I think you're seeing a fleet of people to areas that have better work-life balances, such as Miami, Boise, Salt Lake City, areas that you can recreate and have that natural beauty. The last thing I have would be if you want to just tell us about like publicly or anything that's public, of course, of the most exciting project that you're involved with right now or that you've been involved with recently.
Okay, hold on. I got to think about that for a second because I don't know what I can and cannot share from my fund. I think on the asset management side, we've been seeing a lot of interesting things come from the trade and consultancy space. That's been very exciting to really bring in those types of deals when we're working with miners, maybe to hedge out some of their exposure, or maybe whales who are trying to earn more yield on their ETH, or maybe VC projects who have unvested tokens and trying to hedge out that exposure. It's a bit different from raising capital in the institutional space, but it's very cool. It's exciting. It's very white glove. I think on the personal front, what I'm really excited about is the Crypto Funds Watch newsletter. That scaled very fast. Started at around six weeks ago, and just from organic growth, it's around 350 subscribers right now. So that's been doing great. A lot of interest. People want to do the interview section of it. Funds are reaching out to me. VC firms are reaching out. So that's been very exciting as well. I mean, I'm just really bullish on the space headed forward.
That's amazing. Yeah. We also actually acquired a crypto news site recently called Coinucation that I think there could be a lot of synergies for us to collab there. Do you want to just drop the link actually for Crypto Funds Watch right now so that people can find it?
Yeah, sure. So I just throw in the chat right here.
Sure. Yeah. Or even just say it on air so that people can know where to go to find it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you just go to cryptofunds.watch. It's CRYPTO funds.watch. And basically you just go to that website and it asks you for your email. You just click subscribe. It's a free newsletter. And you just have to click the confirmation email and then you're good. Yeah, perfect.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm doing it right now. This is a beautiful, clean website. I'm excited to start reading the newsletter. Yeah, so really appreciate the time, Edward. Thank you guys. That was awesome.